Hey guys, welcome to In the Locker Room. I am here with the men of the hour. We have Kyle here.
Hello.
And good old Brent.
What up, people?
And we wanted to open up this container to really showcase what it is to live through these guys' eyes. So we want to talk about hard conversations. We really want to talk about things family, mental health, why training is good for the head, all different topics that is going to get you guys able to lean in, be vulnerable, and it's just nice to hear some other guys' point of view. So I really want to start off today with introducing the boys, and then what you're going to find from here on in is the boys are just going to have some really cool and relaxed conversations about different topics that they want to talk about. So Kyle, why don't you start with introducing yourself and maybe talking a little bit about your past, your mental health journey, and how you've come along in your way.
Yeah, well, we all know who I am, Kyle. You just introduced me before. Well done. Mental health, with my training, I didn't realise how much I needed to train for my brain, if that makes sense, until, couldn't train, if that makes sense. Sometimes it was taken for granted, and then, with my past partying lifestyle that used to really deteriorate my mental health. It was only really when I started getting, into owning the gym and really focusing on my health and leaving some past friends and, going into my own journey that I realised that training for me was like the baseline of setting myself up for the day.
Can I ask you, talking about when you used to party and all of that sort of stuff, like, what do you think that you were trying to achieve, or like what was it that you were chasing in those times now that you think training has sort of taken over?
It's, I mean, look, we could be, when we were partying, we'd go to the clubs. It was that type of scene. You'd finish at the club, then you'd be at someone's house, kick-ons, and then you're sitting there talking about saving the world's problems and your own problems.
So do you think you felt like you
where you probably belong somewhere, absolutely. Like it's, with your friends, you're all doing that, so you're all on that same level. But really, it was just deteriorating even more without you knowing. Well, for me anyway, I was like, you think you're under control, but you're really not, So, I mean, when I did clean my act up, would have been, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah.
So much difference happened into my life, moved forward in my other business, and then this, obviously, that business, when I excelled there because I wasn't partying, got me into this section where I'm a part of my life now that I've always wanted to own a gym. So it was like adjusting a few bad habits and behaviours had opened up my door of where the path I was supposed to be on, if that makes sense.
Brent, do you think that you can relate to that at all?
100%. So a bit of my background. So I'm Brent. I'm a small business owner of 2 businesses. I've got a partner, Ash. We have 5 kids collectively in a blended family, which comes with its challenges, but also lots of positives as well. Yeah. Look, my journey has been quite colourful as well. I've had, I've held roles in Europe working as a tour guide, and probably for the better part of 15 to 20 years, I've had a bit of a partying lifestyle, only up until about, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago that sort of changed a little bit. Personally, I think I've struggled a little bit with addiction over time, from party drugs and things like that. You get stuck into a bit of a rut, especially with the crowds that you hang around, and obviously your priorities at that time of your life are a little bit different. And I'd think your life throws chapters at you, and with those chapters comes lessons. Yeah. And sometimes you don't learn those lessons till you've passed that chapter.
Yes.
And it's not until you find your person and the place where you need to be in life, and you share passions with your partner and you're in solitude and unity together, that you come out of those ruts. And it's often that we as humans can, I suppose, relapse or fall back into unwanted habits.
Absolutely.
But I think it's mostly important to hang around the people that bring out the positive in you.
Yes.
And it's definitely something that the crowd that you hang around is the person that you become. Yeah. And I think this place here, Valet, is a great platform for me personally. It's not even about training. I'm not here for weight loss, gaining muscle. That all comes with it, depending on how you'd like to train. But for me, it's a community. For me, it really gives me clarity. There's days where I wake up in the morning and you might not want to feel like you want to go to the gym. And, you might think, fuck it, I'm not going today. But for me personally, I need that. Like if I wake up in a grey headspace and I'm feeling a little bit frustrated, you know, the kids are getting at me, and sometimes for all of our busy lives, that's really hard to fit in. But if you can be a little bit selfish
100.
from time to time and give yourself that hour of a day just to help yourself, I think that's most important. And mental health, I've struggled with through numerous chapters of my life. You know, we talked about that party scene and, you know, dabbling in recreational drugs and lots of alcohol. That comes with anxiety as well 100%. After the fact.
Yeah.
And then, you know, for me personally, I've been through a divorce as well, which was probably one of the darkest times in my life.
And what did you do to get through that?
Yeah, look, I'm fortunate enough to have a very supportive family, so they were really good in that regard. Again, I have a lot of mates who I could talk through it. You know, and then also I got into a lot of mindfulness stuff in that space. I remember one day I woke up, and again, this was like in that sort of immediate downfall of the divorce. You know, I kind of fell back into consuming lots of alcohol and still being a good dad, but like, you know, falling back into that gap, if you know what I mean. And I remember it's kind of like a moment that I'll never forget. I woke up one day and looked at myself in the mirror and started to cry because I just wasn't happy with the reflection that I was looking at. So then I started to dabble in, you know, mindfulness things like Jay Shetty's podcast and reading things like Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights. And I'm that type of person. I know everybody's not into that sort of stuff, but that sort of gave me some bit of a slap in the face, if you like, to go, pull your fucking head in. You can be a better person.
Absolutely.
And I think everybody struggles with that at times. And mindfulness is not for everybody, but everybody, I think, has their opportunity to clear their head and to, you know, I don't think it's weak to speak for both men and women. And men should be able to speak to women, men should be able to speak to men, and vice versa.
100%, because it's not hard to be a good human.
Because everybody's had shit in their life.
Yeah, and then everyone's still going to have shit.
You know, we come into places like gyms or a shop front, and you never know what that person in front of you, whether if they're behind a desk serving you at Kmart or whatever, you never know what's happened in their life.
Right.
You know, and sometimes you might walk out of a shop and go, geez, she or he was a bitch or an asshole. But you think maybe they're just having a shit day.
On her shoulders too,
and you don't know what's going on in their personal life.
And do you guys feel like, you know, you both talk about your past and sort of, you know, I know you really relate to Jeff Morgan as well, how he says lessons are blessings.
Yes, yeah.
When you did have to make that decision of, you know, being a better human, being a better person, and maybe having to let go of, you know, some old friendships, like how was that like for both of you? Like, do you feel like, you know, we were saying before that the people we hang around are either going to uplift you or bring you down, you know, so creating those boundaries and moving, sort of having to let go of those sorts of people. Did you guys feel a little bit of like loneliness or a bit of like grief almost?
You're kind of losing that whole identity for so long. Well, for me anyway. Don't get me wrong, I still talk to certain people that I've got a relationship with, but it's far in between of drinks. But I can still pick up the phone and say g'day. But it's kind of like you've known something for so long and your own culture with who you grew up with, and then it's like you go into a different direction. It's like, oh shit, you know, like, but you've learned from it, you know. It's like that's where you're supposed to be in that certain part of your time, of your life. That's the lessons, you know.
But did you feel like you were leaving a part of you behind? Was that hard?
Yeah, that's right.
To make that decision.
It was, but the decision was it had to be made too because it wasn't serving my life anymore.
Yeah.
You know, the destructive path of partying all the time, drinking, and you know, just working, and then.
So do you think it's more about like for you guys as fathers, as men, that your priorities had to change in that moment? Like what was that turning point?
Yeah, that's right. Family.
Yeah.
You know, and you had enough of it.
Yeah.
So, you know, when someone walks out on you and you're sitting there on the step thinking about, you know, it was easy. It could have been easy for me to turn out and say it was fucking her problem.
Yeah.
But I sat down and stripped the layers off myself and realised it was me.
Yep. So they say like in your darkest moments or when you hit rock bottom, like you've got two choices.
That's right. You're either the way I see it, I could have either deflected onto you, and had it was your problem, like you should have worked that out, or taken accountability for myself. So I did, and a lot of people weren't happy. They thought, because I changed, and they always used to think it was Tara's this and that, So that kind of stage was, a bit brutal. But in the end, I thought, well, clean myself up, and I was better for it. You know what I mean? And as I said, there's still people that I see that I'm not close into that as close as what we were, but I can still say hello and how you going and what we're doing, but I just don't put myself in those positions of partying anymore, because let's face it, we all like to party, but it's like it doesn't get you anywhere. And then that's when I find, I have one night of enjoyment, because as you said, we're human. You might not do it for 6-7 months and then let yourself loose on one night, but then I feel like it puts you back 20 steps. Do you know what I mean? And then you're not yourself. You come in here and you train. You don't get the shits that I'm not training as hard as what I normally would. So it's like that. It's every day's you wake up Mike Tyson swinging at you, and it's life is enough throwing punches at you in the day, let alone damaging yourself.
Brent, so what could you say to somebody who was where you guys are, like family man, things, they're relying on that sort of lifestyle, relying on that group, and they're starting to sort of outgrow that? Like, what would be your suggestion when people are sort of, know that there's better for them, know that they need to grow, need to be a better dad, a better partner? Like, what can you suggest for that person to do first, or what steps do you think are really important?
They're going to look at
Look, I mean, I think everybody's got their own ways of dealing with things. For me personally, it was about, that looking at yourself in the mirror and sort of stripping yourself down to the bare minimum. Exactly, and picking apart your
faults.
Exactly, and
owning them.
And you know what? Everybody's got faults. Every
person still not perfect.
Exactly.
I'm far from
Nor am I. But I think it's about stripping yourself back and really identifying what is the priorities in your life. And we all go through struggles in relationships and life in general. There's tragedies and juggling kids
big
and
T and little T traumas.
Exactly. We've all got past traumas from experiences through different steps of our lives, and they can sometimes creep back in to put us into, instead of having 2 beers, I'm going to have 12 beers, because that helps me numb the pain. And I think it's about stripping it all back and realizing what the priorities are in your life and the direction you want your life to go, because things can fall apart quickly, and once they fall apart, they can't necessarily be put back together. And if you're prepared for that, that's cool. But if you're not, then you need to really prioritize,
structure your life,
your priorities, and invest in the things that are your purpose. So if that's your partner and, things might be going not as best as they should and you want to mend that, I think that has to come together as a collective. I have been guilty of that in the past, of not doing that. And I identified that in that dark time, I suppose. And I think it's really about, like I said, surrounding yourself with positive people. And that's not necessarily, eliminating drinking altogether and all those sort of things. I'm not saying that you have to go straight into sobriety or anything like that. But it's about, identifying the things in your life that are positive. Think about your partner of when you're in a fight and you're not aligning. Think about the positives, or maybe just say, look, I'm having 5 minutes, just leave me alone. I just need to think about this. It might be 5 minutes, it might be a night, whatever that may be. And, look at the things that are surrounding you. If you've got children, wow, look at these 2, 3, 4, 5 beautiful babies that we have together. And I think for me personally, and I was again guilty of this in my first marriage, I wasn't investing in my children as much as I could have. They were only babies. So I was still very much about that party lifestyle and thought, my wife at the time, you got this covered. And I could still go out and do that. But again, in that moment of separation, that was like a big bang moment in my head, thinking, what the fuck are you doing, man? Cool. Well, it was an amicable separation, and we didn't align at the end of the day anyway. But from a dad perspective, I'm thinking, what the fuck are you doing? Do you want to be this role model for your kids as they grow up? And, it's just about, and then I really think it's about communication. That's a big thing with myself and my partner now. Communication is key, and we don't always align on everything, but it's you've got to talk about it. And you know what? Without frustration, strip each other back And sometimes that can be a really raw feeling to think. You think, fuck off, like, I'm not that.
Going in that direction. Yeah.
Why are you calling me out on this?
Mm.
But I think sometimes it's important to be called out.
Yeah, I agree.
And then in the moment, you're probably going to get touched by it.
Yeah.
But if you go back and sit back and think about it and sort of refresh your mind and think about it differently, then I think that gives you positivity moving forward to think about things.
Yeah. And do you guys think that there is a little bit of a like stigma or around, you know, guys who are wanting to help themselves, or we talk about self-help like books, like I know you read a lot of Ant Middleton books, you know, a lot of podcasts, we train, those sorts of things.
Yeah, well, we were brought up that there shouldn't be like reading books, and you know, it's
What, like it's not
what men do.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what I mean? But then what is right and what is wrong? You know, it's like with the stigma of having ego in your relationship. You know, as you were saying before, you can have that honest talk. And then what I learned is to drop the ego out of my relationship. Like, we're both partners, we're a team. Yes, we don't always agree, but my way's not always right, neither is yours. So it's almost like you can drop that ego.
Do you feel
that
like
stigma
it's the same with like if guys that are think, oh yeah, right, like
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
it's
like
the same mentality. Drop the ego and just listen and learn something. You know what I mean? Take a second, because that second of that information that you might grab could change your life on how you see things.
Yeah, and I know that you love like all of that sort of stuff. So what's
look, I think that's the reason for this podcast, right? We've got two sort of, let's say, chalk and cheese blokes. So Kyle's humorous, happy-go-lucky, doesn't really like to deep dive, and then you've got me, who some would say is the gay mindfulness dude who just gets too deep and wants to talk about everything.
Let me tell you something about Brent. What this guy is. He like checks in with me, makes sure I always get a message from him. If he senses that I'm off, he's a good human. Yeah, you're a good human. You're a good man.
You two are, mate.
Yeah, and you know, he always checks in, and that's simple. See, and that shows you a bit of how can I say, certain circles of people that you can put yourself around with. Like, as you said, get yourself with good humans. It doesn't take much to check into someone, but sometimes when you're around certain groups, it's like a negative, dark energy. You know what I mean? And that's what you've got to try and understand.
Would you guys say that this is like the definition of like a proper brotherhood?
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah. Well, and it is. It's like, I don't expect anything off Brent, and he doesn't expect anything off me. He messages me, and I message him just out of the goodness of our hearts, or how we're vibing, or how he's feeling. Like, if Brent comes into the gym and he's a bit off, you right, mate? You good? Yeah, I'm sweet. You know, might have had a couple of too many green hand grenades like before.
Been there many a time.
Or he will notice with me, and that's cool. Like, and then you get that message off Brent, and I'm like, fuck yeah, like, solid.
Yeah.
You know, we're not in each other's pockets every day. We're not having a romantic call, but that's how a friendship and uplifting people should be around you. And that's what I've learned having the gym. There is good people out there.
Yeah, and I think in regards to mental health, and this again comes for male and females, it doesn't necessarily have to be that deep diving piece, you know, a conversation that goes for an hour. It might be, you know, going to have a wine together at a pub and just talking about your day and just venting. Yeah. And you know, I think sometimes it's important just to listen.
Yeah, be an ear.
Yeah,
be an ear.
and sometimes.
And do you guys think that's what men need? Is that ear?
Yeah, 100%. Men will say that they don't, but it's full of shit. Like, you can tell when a man's not happy with himself, right? They take it out on whoever is around them doing well. You know, they deflect on themselves, or whether it be their spouse or their good friend that is training or doing whatever he's doing in his life. You can tell when someone's unhappy with themselves.
Of course. And I think when you have those conversations, you might want to have them with your partner or your wife or whoever that may be in your life. And you might not necessarily want to hear what they've got to say in rebuttal for that. So sometimes it's good just to vent it out to somebody else. And then even after you've vented that to the other person, it'll be a healthier conversation if you want to go back and talk to your partner or your spouse about that later. Absolutely. Because you've gotten the heat of it or the core of it off your chest, and it becomes a lot more comfortable to talk about. Yeah. But everybody's a little bit different. I'm a deep diver. Not every man or woman out there are keen to do that sort of thing, but I think there's always somebody around you that is going to be a listening ear. And you may not have found that person in your life yet. You may have. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a spouse or a partner or whatever. It could be just a friend. It might be somebody that you meet in the next couple of months that becomes a good friend. And I really think, again, sorry for the deep diving, people, but the universe works in mysterious ways.
Puts people in your path
it does for some reasons,
Yeah.
and that can come good, bad, ugly, and beautiful.
But there's always
and everything in between. Exactly.
You know, you might not see it at that point, but 6 months, 12 months down the track, then you'd be like, if you're in tune with what's
exactly.
going on.
That's why that happened.
Or like, if we like to say it, I feel like you guys are quite conscious in everything you do at the moment, down to your training because the way it makes you feel, not because of the way it makes you look, down to the conversations you guys have with each other and other men in the gym. You're open, you're vulnerable. Like, all of those are, you know, classed as like a, like, I don't want to offend anybody, but like a gay way, or you know, that sort of thing. And I think, like you said, like, this is what we want to bring highlight to, so you guys can help other guys, you know, with, like, to be conscious, to live a life of purpose, to live a life of, you know, being a great dad, being a great partner, but being great for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, everybody's got a story. And that your story doesn't necessarily have to be told, but you'd be absolutely amazed with anybody that you talk to if you start to unwrap things about the traumas, the tragedies, and the difference of lives that they've had. I mean, you've got a disabled brother, and you know that comes with its, you know, challenges growing up, and then, you know, things happen. You know, there's ladies that have had miscarriages, and
you just don't know what people have gone through, man. And you know what? Like, it took me a long time to, how could I say, not that I was judgmental, but I was a very, like, just one-dimensioned and didn't give any time of day to people. Like 6-7 years ago, I wouldn't be doing this, having this conversation with someone. I was a completely different person. You know what I mean? Morals were still right, but just completely different person. So now, to like, you just don't know what people go through and what they've gone through and why they're angry, or you think, God, that person's a real fuckwit, but you don't know
exactly
what they're doing. So now I take the time to say, hey, man, where are you? What's going on? And then you see, like, they're either like come back to or talk, or you will see they brush, and then you can slowly break them down. And you see the same people in the gym here. A couple of times they're very bit standoffish with me. Before you know it, then we're having yarns, and then you can see a little bit of a glimpse into their life, and then you're like, oh, that's why they're a bit sheltered, or, you know, they're protecting themselves. They got their, what do you call it?
Barrier.
Yeah,
the wall up. Yeah.
So what, guys, can the audience expect from you guys? Like, what conversations? I'll start with you, Brent. Would you like to have on the potty? Like, what are some of the conversations you'd like to talk about to help other guys, other men, you know, that sort of stuff? What can they expect from you?
Yeah, look, I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy, but I've got some, you know, demons and trauma behind me, which I'm always happy to talk about. I think it's I'm one of those ones to be open with the shit things I've done, the good things I've done, the achievements that I've made, and call myself out. But also just as an open forum for us to have a bit of a yarn and have a bit of a laugh, and, you know, just yeah, exactly, to be a safe place, and hopefully we can get some followers to jump on board, and feel free to throw us some shit on the comments, because I'm sure everybody will have their likable personalities and not. But I'm all down for constructive criticism as well. Absolutely. But yeah, just I really, again, think this has been an opportunity that's come to me for a reason, and I really look forward to it. And yeah, I'm just stoked about it.
We're on.
And what about you, Kyle? Like, what are some things that they can expect from you? What are things that you want to talk about?
Everything, really. I want to touch on everything with the guys. Like, I want to get some guys that are on that are, you know, talk about, you know, it could be even the simple things of just trying to get to the gym, or how do they sort family life, juggle work, business, families. Could get, I'm open to anything, to be honest with you. Like, I'm a surprise of all conversations. You don't know what you're going to get from me. So, and like, when Tara's not here, the leash will be up. There'll be a couple of beeps and swearing going on. But yeah, I'm ready to open up the pages on anything, like anything. We'll get the boys on there and have a good crack and have a good go.
Yeah, and I think this one's just an intro for the potty, but we'll definitely have a mix-up of different people coming on board to have a chat with us. You know, we've got some, I've got myself personally, I've got some friends that have been in the military over in Afghanistan. I've got a mate who's in the police force. We've got a lot of small business owners here that train in the gym that I'm sure can tell us their story as well. Wouldn't mind having some female guests come on board as well, to talk about their journey, and not necessarily always fitness. And I think if we are going to talk about fitness, we look at it from every different person's perspective, because everybody's got a different reason for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would be good to understand.
Correct.
Because everyone just thinks mental health.
Or not even. I
Or
think
body
a lot
image,
of, it's
or
all
body
about
image.
the aesthetics. Like,
Yeah.
I need to look a certain way. For you guys, it's about how much muscle I can put on, how much
Yeah.
I can lift.
Yeah.
But, I know for both of you, it's about the head game.
Yeah.
It's like clearing out
just pushing yourself.
You had someone in yesterday when you said, what did you say to him yesterday? Get out of your head?
Yeah, he was struggling, and he's like, and this guy, he's quite fit, but same thing, bit of pressure, heat, this, and he was in his head, and I said, get out of your fucking head and get into it. And after the training session, she's like, thanks, man, I needed that. And I was like, I could tell. Bang, change that's just, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Because then you don't know what people are going through, do you?
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
All right, guys, that is our first little introductory. We are going to be bringing you some amazing episodes with these two. That is it from me. From now on, you will just see the boys. We are pumped.
Fuck off, we're on!
We'd love to record an episode every week or two. So if there's anything you request from either of the boys, any questions you have for them, we can even do a, Q&A if you want to find out a little bit more about them both.
Everything's just whatever comes to you. There's no limits.
Yeah, everything's on the table.
100%.
We are your expander here. All right, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the potty next week. Bye.